News team, assemble!
It's back and bigger than ever. It's the Unofficial 40 from Soonerscoop.com. Now, here's the entire Sooner Scoop crew. Carrie, Josh, Eddie, and Bob.
All right, welcome back. It is time for another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast. About the only audio thing we do around here anymore is the Unofficial 40 podcast, and we're welcomed now by the entire crew. George will be by in just a little bit. He gets enough FaceTime as it is. But we bring in Bob Przybylo to get some of his thoughts on the weekend that was. Still not on your TV screens yet. Eddie Radosevich here, of course, and the giant head of Josh McQuistion joins us. If you go to my Twitter page, you will see what we are seeing. We've just added the monitor to the studios, so your head's bigger than ever, Josh. You must be impressed.
They say it's a sign of some sort of regal manner. I don't think that's correct, but I'm going to go with that. That's the only defense I have at this point.
Well, they used to crash weddings and take the bride and knock her up before the husband could, too, back in the day. So
when was that?
Prima Nocta. You need to watch Braveheart. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
The guy that...
Matt Gaetz would love that.
The guy that the Lord of the Lands was able to crash in the wedding, declare prima nocta, and take the wife that she just got married into his own bed.
What do you do if you're an attendee at that wedding and you take a wedding gift? Can you take the gift back with you if there is no wedding?
I would suggest Plan B as a wedding gift. Would be my suggestion. We have a lot of things.
Tom Herman has some other ideas on what you could bring.
Okay, I opened the door. It's my fault. It's a pill, ladies and gentlemen. We have a potentially explosive situation developing in the studio. There's a giant amount of boxes sitting outside. I will say this, and Eddie will tell you this. Eddie's very worried.
I'm already
so worried.
I'm not even. It's
Josh is worried.
Worried isn't the question. Terrified is the question. Terrified is the question.
6 months ago, I ordered what was to be our control room table, and it took them that long to build it and to make it and to ship it, and it arrived this morning, which means Eddie and I have had some real knockdown dragouts lately about just things working or not working, and what his stuff is working and my stuff is not working, and so. And it's been probably the smoothest last couple of weeks since we've moved into this building where everything is just working perfectly.
Everything is roses right now in Norman, Oklahoma. It would be yes. Very hard to find something that is going wrong.
So I've decided to rip apart everything.
To make everything go wrong.
Destroy it.
To just rip it all apart as it's working perfectly.
I'm terrified.
This is not a cable situation, all right?
This is an hour situation that this needs to be turned over, not days. 48 to 72 hours.
No, it will be. It will be.
Oh, my gosh, I'm so scared. I'm literally scared.
He called me last night, and we're talking about some other stuff, and he's like, Eddie's worried. I'm like, dude, I'm worried. This is not just Eddie.
And guess what? You should be worried. Because
there we go. That's why. And that makes me worry even more.
But Pierce is going to come in on Sunday. He's going to help me out. You'll finish it all off. I'm telling you, I've got this thing. I've built this thing and rebuilt it so many times. I know where everything goes. I promise you it's going to be okay.
In a week.
I promise you it's going to be okay. Yes.
Okay.
It's going to be okay. Anyway, it's a bye week.
Terrifying.
It's a bye week.
The bye week was at the right time for everything with Oklahoma football except for the Sooner Scoop offices.
Are you going to show up here on Saturday and just
No, I'm not. No, the plan is to not.
It doesn't look like it's going to work.
I don't think Saturday afternoon I'll be in a state to, unless an Uber brings me down here, which would be interesting.
We got some pretty good. We got football Friday night. We got Colorado 9:00 kick.
It's a really good. Kick it around type weekend for Oklahoma fans. I think that all three games during the afternoon at 2:30, somewhat interesting. Kansas, Oklahoma State, obviously with the local tie, and then Washington, Oregon's going to be a national scene, and I'm somewhat interested to see what happens in Knoxville with A&M at 2:30 as well. So then you roll into a night setting that is going to be really good with USC and Notre Dame.
By the way, I would
The good people versus the bad people. The
I'd
Catholics
like-
versus the others.
Well, I mean, I'm surrounded by Catholics, so I can't really say much.
I know.
I mean, I can
think
say
God
what I
owes them
want.
one.
I mean, you did have that
Notre
whole
Dame's not playing well, though.
pay for prayers thing a while back.
Pay for prayer?
Yeah, what was that? The
What?
Spanish Inquisition or whatever?
Oh, in like 1349
I said a
or
while
something?
back.
Yeah, it's been I mean, if you more recently we've had problems with priests, but that's neither here nor there.
Spotlight
If you
is
had
one of my
Spanish
favorite
Inquisition on your bingo card of the unofficial 40, we will buy you a case of
This
beer.
is
That
this
is
is
impressive.
it's as bye week as it
It's a
possibly
bye week.
gets.
Yes, and look, we have covered the game. We're going to cover it more. Bob hasn't really had his say on things. You had me on the post-game podcast. But, I mean, it's been a good week. I think the players have, it's been great talking to them. Walter Rouse, I think everybody on the YouTube page, I mean, he's never been more popular with the OU fans than he is right now. His interview this week, I think, Bob, were you the one that was over there with him? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But he was fantastic. I mean, just, I don't know, his whole thing, Bob, I thought about, he knows he wasn't here last year, but he feels like he was after getting ready for this game.
Same with Desan McCullough. That was a very consistent message. Like, I'm not a part of this rivalry. I didn't grow up in it, but I get what this means to you guys. So you're going to get everything I can possibly give to you. The 49 medicine balls, I feel it too, and I'm going to do whatever the heck I can do to make sure that we change the story.
Well, and, it's the only bad thing to come out of the week, obviously, is Andrel Anthony and him being lost, and Brent confirmed that on Monday. Just talking to Jalil Farouk, I was over talking to him a little bit on Monday, and, I get the feeling like, the entire receiving room is like, it's not just one of those things like, oh, yeah, we're going to replace him. It's like we have to go find someone. And whether that's Nick Anderson or Brennan Thompson or whoever, it's an injury that kind of impacts everybody on that team emotionally more than you think. I mean, it's pretty obvious that Andrel Anthony is just he's a team favorite.
He's a team favorite, and I think it will be like bits and pieces of a couple guys, not just one dude that's going to be. Now that's Anthony. No, it's going to be between Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson and Brennan Thompson. They'll mix and match, and they'll do what they have to do to make it work.
And you maybe try and give Jaquez Petaway some work outside. See, who maybe one of those slot guys if they can handle some of that, because you don't know until you try sometimes with that. Who's going to be the guy to go up and make one-on-one plays?
Just as much, and we talked about this on the Scoop practice report on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube page. George and I talked about it. Just as much as you're losing a guy in the big play threat that Andrel Anthony was, I think it gets really lost in the discussion how good he's been on third down for Oklahoma. The 10 targets, 8 catches, 7 of the 8 catches went for first downs, and it's how do you find somebody that is going to be and I think it's a lot of it's because Andrel would create a lot of space, good route runner. How are you going to be able to replace those big catches that maybe don't get circled when you're looking at a play chart, but they extend drives into what could be, touchdown scoring drives. So it's big for them.
You know what stood out to me with what you guys were talking about and some of the audio you were playing this week with Brent is he said, there wasn't a lot of swelling, so that usually means that the recovery will be better.
Yeah, is
it
that
was
like
so
first week
weird.
of December he could be back type deal?
But to me, it was just so weird that, like, oh my God, we have someone that actually discusses injuries now and how
no
they
kidding.
happen and what's a good injury and what's a bad. Like, no more of this lower body stuff.
Yeah,
like,
and they were always
talking to us like we're adults. Like,
Sure.
I find that so refreshing.
Well, and I think that just the way that this team's playing, I think that's kind of the way he treats the players as well, just kind of a look inside of the program. And when you hear some of the guys that speak in front of the media right now, like a Walter Rouse, Rondell Bothroyd, particularly guys that they brought in over the offseason in the transfer portal, it just kind of makes sense as far as why they're being able to step into the roles that they have been.
I was thinking about, just kind of some of that stuff with Brent and, just talking to people. And then that video comes out yesterday.
It's amazing.
Amazing.
It's one of the best cinematic reviews of a game I've ever seen. Truly, I don't watch a whole lot of the. I'll be honest, I don't watch a ton of the content that OU
social
usually
media
puts
content,
out,
yeah.
like just the videos and stuff from practice and things like that. But I watched that like 10 times. It was
amazing.
spiritual to a certain extent with the Brent Venables. Like the intro, I thought was awesome.
Yeah,
all of like the cinematography.
There you go. You got
Whatever.
You had it.
Whatever.
You lost it.
Drink. I thought it was excellent. Like kudos to everybody on that social media team over there at OU. And then the Danny Stutsman thing has kind of taken on a life of its own. I mean, he could run for governor right now.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing that he said in there, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. If you're listening to this podcast, there's no reason why you shouldn't watch it.
I'm almost guaranteeing you that if you're listening to this podcast, you probably watched it.
Yes.
I mean, 5 million views in less than 14 hours that's insane.
But the way that, he was so fired, it's Oklahoma fears God, and number 2, Texas fears Oklahoma. It's such a Oklahoma type.
Oh God! You talk about endearing yourself.
War chant.
Well, and it's true. I tweeted it last night. Like without question, Danny Stutsman is the face of Oklahoma football right now.
Yep.
And when I don't know, the way that it started and then it tails in with Boz at the end, it's kind of like there is some symmetry there between, I don't know, the passing of a torch or whatever. But like Danny Stutsman has really turned into the guy for Oklahoma.
Well, and it's like, we're talking last night. It's like we should make that T-shirt, and I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, Danny, here's a number. We'll give you this up front if you want to do a T-shirt for NIL." And I'm happy that Opolis,
great
reached
people
out and is going to do a deal with him. So he's getting paid. I don't have to do the work because, like, you guys know this. When we do NIL stuff, it's not to make money. I mean, the only reason I was going to offer Danny something is just because I knew that we could execute something and make him some money, but Opolis is a clothing company, so them better than us.
Yeah, and they're awesome. Like I know the people that own the place; they do a great job with all their Thunder stuff. I know the gear that Gabe and those guys has for the Oklahoma stuff is awesome too. So pretty cool.
Still, we have $10,000 laying around for softball that's going to be used at some point. So,
guys, the Stutsman thing. I brought up something, and I literally just stumbled onto it last week. I was doing our Texas site, their podcast. I was talking to Bobby Burton, and I was talking about Stutsman and his evolution. And I kind of compared it, and he's different because he's a young guy, so I don't take it on that level. But I know Carey's a Ted Lasso fan.
Oh, yeah.
And in Lasso, he had to reach Roy Kent. He knew it. He said it in the show, like, that's the guy we've got to get if we're going to get this turned around. Do you think there was some of that for Brent with Danny? He knew Danny's personality. He knew Danny had a lot of talent. Like, is there something in there where Brent said, I've got to get that guy on my side, get him moving in my direction, and we can get everything else following behind it? And now we're talking about Danny as the face of the program.
Yeah, I mean, Eddie knows this. I mean, you have him on your radio show every week. He is one guy that, like, I just can't figure that guy out sometimes.
I think it's
so
we've seen
weird.
like a perfect encapsulation of kind of who Danny Stutsman is just with the media, and he has matured quite a bit. I don't think he really necessarily wants to be seen as, this funny guy that wasn't getting it done on the field a year ago, or at times was having lapses. But I think that now you're starting to see, I think he does like to cut up quite a bit. I think we've seen that with Jaron over the last couple of days.
And I think they drive Brent crazy.
Oh yeah, a little bit. But I think that I think that Brent loves them so much because they do drive him crazy a little bit. I think that that's kind of what endears them to each other. And then you look at the numbers that Danny's putting up this year. I know PFF tweeted it out this morning: 61 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, 12 quarterback pressures, 87.5 run defense grade, and 0 TDs allowed per PFF so far. Like he's truly turning into, I think what a lot of people envisioned when you brought back Brent Venables into the next like great Oklahoma linebacker that has had a storied history at this program.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing about this.
And he's a leader. Like
this program,
that's the biggest thing.
And this defense, Bob, is like, if it's Brent Venables' defense, he's going to have linebackers. And Josh, you know this. I mean, over the years, he hasn't been this, even when he was at Oklahoma early, he hasn't always been this deep. When he lost to Ryan Reynolds, he didn't have a guy to step up and replace him. And, he went scrambling a little bit. I mean, you think of back to the days when they tried to play, I think Brent was gone with that infamous
Julian Wilson?
Tony Jefferson, West Virginia game, right?
Julian Wilson
No.
playing.
Oh yeah, he did play linebacker one game, didn't he? That was right. That was against Kansas or something.
This is a far cry from what this thing has been.
Oh yeah,
And not to mention, like, big picture wise, like just what the defense is doing. They're all relatively, like, outside of the defensive line guys, like the interior guys, they're young. Like, the linebacker group is young.
And Josh, doesn't that to you define who Brent is as a guy that has really good linebackers at the base, the heart of his defense?
Yeah, I think he takes real pride in that. Like, I mean, not just like, and I know that seems obvious, like he wants to be good at every position. I think, I wonder how Brent would feel about, okay, defense is a bunch of NFL guys, secondary is a bunch of NFL guys, and my linebackers are just kind of guys. Like, I think that would still chap his ass. Like, just to be, he values that position, and he wants that position to be such a focal point. And guys, like, even to go farther, you look back at Rocky, you look back at Teddy Lehman, they were wills. Like, that will position is such a star position for Brent Venables. That almost always is the guy on his defense.
Rufus was that.
Josh,
Absolutely.
you tweeted out just a second ago, Butkus favorite. You really think that he would, if like voting was done today,
Yes.
Danny Stutsman would win the Butkus?
I do.
That's
because, guys,
it's
not,
think about that, like where this conversation was a year and a half ago, or half a year ago.
Now, there are two things at play here. A, if it happened right now, Danny just played in the biggest game of of anybody's memory. I mean, like there is some of that in the thing here, or in the equation here, but also that's a position that not a lot of people are either A, qualified, or B, can really understand. And I don't know what the Butkus voting list looks like. I know there are people that are really versed that can look at it and can know. But I've got to think there's also just some media people that are just going to look at numbers. And Danny is putting up massive numbers. I mean, there's no question. Other than the Arkansas State game where he probably played, half as many snaps as he played the rest of the season, he's had big time games. I thought he was sleepy's not the right word for it because it sounds derogatory, but like I didn't see him making a whole bunch of plays that you were like, holy cow, against Texas. Then you look up and he's second on the team in tackles, or third, whatever it was, tackle and a half for loss. I mean, like, he put up good numbers. It just wasn't some of the explosive stuff we'd seen against Tulsa and Cincinnati and some of these other opponents.
He has 61 tackles right now at the halfway point. He'd really have to turn it up to maybe chase like a top 10 all-time tackle season at Oklahoma. I think George Cumby is number 10 at 154. So like, that I don't think he's going to quite get there, but you start getting into like the top 20-ish, I think Rick Bryan's at number 20 with 122 tackles. That could be done.
It could. I would almost lean the other way. I think it's going to be imperative for Kip Lewis and Kobe to see the field more, so that Danny and Jaron are fresh.
That's a good point.
As you get to the second half of the season.
I thought those two wore down a little bit in the second half. I mean, and it's not all on them, but the offense was just kind of 3 and out, especially there in the fourth quarter. And I thought it looked like Jaron especially got a little worn down.
Well, and they're rushing 4 and they're dropping in coverage so much. I mean, they're running a lot in that game. By the way, Josh, I want to talk about Todd Bates a little bit. But first, it is the Enjoy Fresh Perspective look around. And Eddie's got a. Here we go. Eddie's going by memory here.
Well, it's not going to be exactly by memory. I don't know where the cheat sheet is, but I can't tell the cheat sheet. Did I say cheat shit?
I think so.
Cheat sheet. I think I know what we're doing here, and let me tell you, folks, for the second time in 7 days, and in fact, I haven't done this in 20 years, probably, but for the second time in 7 days, I got soap in my eye, and it burned. But I could still see, because of LASIK, that I got at Enjoy Vision, which is the best laser vision center in Oklahoma City, and it's not even close. The combination of mind-blowing technology, experienced eyeball surgeons, and exceptional patient care was life-changing for me. What they're doing for the Unofficial 40 listener, they're giving $400 off of LASIK. Think about how much money you could give to OU's NIL program if you got saved $400 of LASIK.
A lot of
All you got to
Stutsman
do,
T-shirts.
probably 3. I don't know how much they are, but I'm just guessing off of retail value. Enjoywithme.com. Go to the letter NJOY with me.com. Use promo code U40 for $400 off LASIK. Enjoy vision. This is where you LASIK.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just found out something amazing. Eddie Radosevich photographic memory, because this is not being videoed. You won't know.
No, you won't know that at all that Carrie went and got the read sheet for me.
I took that out of the room the other day. I apologize. I took it away from its home.
I usually remember it, but I kind of got scared. I think we would have gotten we probably would have got along somewhere along the lines. But I have gotten soap in my eye for the last 2 days. I got it twice in 7 days, and it's become a problem.
I thought we weren't using soap every day.
I don't use shampoo. I use soap
every day.
I use soap, though. I do cleanse myself.
Why is there so much soap around your eyes if you're not shampooing? That's
because
feels
The
strange.
T-zone, Josh, you know.
you gotta clean your face.
Okay.
nose
Do you not clean your
I guess
face?
I was thinking of like body soap. I got you. Okay.
Use
I'm
some
with you
face wash and stuff like that. I'm a YouTube star.
Dude,
now. I
I
got to take care of my face.
Also a big
now.
lubricant.
Hey, I'm native. I have the face of a 13-year-old boy still to this day. So got that skin. Got to live with it.
The head of
And
an
I can say
elephant.
that because I'm one of them. It's fine.
All right, Todd Bates. I think he needs his flowers a little bit. I mean, and I think the thing about this, Josh, is I just keep reveling in the fact that they brought in all these guys, and you don't usually see transfers. And I think we were talking about this the other day, or maybe you were talking about it on the Monday Rewind show that we're doing now. That you didn't think, and I don't think anybody thought that you could improve your defensive line just by bringing in transfers, because defensive linemen that are good, unless you're Bear Alexander and you're getting paid a whole lot of money to switch, you're usually, if you're transferring, you're not playing well at the place that you are. So the fact that Todd Bates has been able to get Jacob Lacey into John Terry and and Jonah Lualu, switching has certainly been really good for them. But just the job that he's done, and throw Miguel Chavis in there with Ethan Downs and the progress that he's made, it's an underrated thing that we haven't given them more credit on the defensive line as coaches.
Because I think we all wondered how we watched Oklahoma stuff the first 5 opponents in the run game. I mean, they were very good, one of the better run defenses in the country, and you kind of thought, okay, but I think more than anything, that's the area I wondered: is this real? Like, is this as good as it looks? And while Texas had some moments, I mean, obviously Jonathan Brooks has the big late touchdown run, but in general, Oklahoma dominated that game on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, frankly. And defensive line, I would say even more distinctly, that they were very, very good and did a great job just cycling bodies, running people out there, keeping guys fresh. And I'm with you, Kerry. I thought Terry, that was his best game at Oklahoma. I thought he was really, really good. And I know we're all 6 games into that.
I talked to him on Monday, just the best dude. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing about all these guys. I was talking to people. That's a little voice crack. They're all really good dudes. You don't interview anybody and you think, man, that kid's probably going to get in trouble at some point. There's no. I hate to say this, but there's no
knuckleheads.
Well, I'm trying to think of someone in
particular. Oh, you're going to call somebody out, just throw them completely under the bus?
For the
guy that Isaiah always had to defend all the time.
Oh, yeah.
He's scary, though. I don't want to say his name.
He'd come jump on the hood of your car. There's precedent there. Even a guy like a Jacob Lacey, we talked about him this morning, Bob.
Still haven't got to talk with.
He's been incredible. And his story even and George mentioned it on the postgame pod with his dad walking out of the Cotton Bowl with George's dad. It's a crazy story, and that they didn't know if he was going to play football this year because of the blood clot situation at the beginning of the year. All of a sudden, he's starting every game on OU's defensive line, and not only was he the captain in the Texas game, but he made probably the biggest sack of the game that led to the field goal to hold him up and get the ball back to Dylan Gabriel. So they've been extremely good, and I don't know if you guys saw the video that was tweeted out from, who was it? Kamori Moore, maybe. One of the defensive linemen with Todd Bates'
Todd
pregame
Bates.
speech.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the all-time pump up pregame speeches I've ever heard.
Now the consensus, Eddie, number 2 is tools.
Tools. So
tools.
Things that you need to pay back immediately. Money, tools, and ass whoopings. That's a great line.
I'm going to teach that to my daughters.
Yes, absolutely.
That's not just a male thing. We can operate under all that. Everyone can live under those rules.
By the way, had you talked about this PFF mid-season All-American team?
Not the PFF mid-season All-American team, but I just mentioned the numbers that they threw out there for Danny Stutsman.
He was second-team linebacker for them. I'm seeing some interesting names. By the way, did you see that Josh Proctor had a big pick six last weekend?
Very nice. I did not know that.
Rising up the charts for the Senior Bowl.
You know what, Eddie? That's the thing. I get to watch a lot more games, not having enough credentials for me to sit in press boxes. I should be the one doing AP voting now, not people from Syracuse.
Boy.
Poor Emily. I can't believe that
bad.
she she killed the AP poll in one tweet. It's quite unbelievable.
And Bob was right. I sided with Bob. I'm I'm not going after a woman reporter because it's going to go bad. That's a follow train I don't want any part of.
A stupid ass statement is a stupid ass
dumb.
statement.
Yeah, it was
I would have
stupid.
attacked a male the same way that I attacked her.
Exactly. It's sexist to treat her differently because she is a woman.
Then I'm sexist because I just don't want my mentions to blow. They get blown up enough with getting tagged on recruits by On3, and then it's not that I don't mind that. It's just the fights that happen where people don't know how to untag you.
I'll be honest. Maybe the most 2023 statement of all time. I think it's sexist that we're even gendering her. I think I need to. I will step back and allow they to tell us what to call them.
Interesting note. I finished my DEI training this morning on privilege.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you check your privilege at the door?
I have white privilege, and I'm not ashamed of it. I know it.
It's a great South Park episode.
By the way, on this PFF list, Peyton Bowen did make honorable mention at safety for a true freshman.
That's
impressive.
not even the freshman team. He just made the
honorable mention.
No, that's
honorable
the
mention
real team.
The
Yeah.
team?
The
Jesus.
team. They have 3 teams and then an honorable mention. Josh Proctor was honorable mention at safety as well, at the other safety position. I'll say this.
I thought there was a pretty good question on the Crimson Corner it might have been yesterday or it might have been Monday. Does OU have somebody that could be a semifinalist for the Thorpe Award?
This year?
Yes.
here's the thing, and I'm looking at this list.
They
Woody
lead
Washington is so good, but
Numbers
nobody
say
ever
Gentry.
notices
right.
him.
They lead the country in interceptions. It would make you think that they would at least have a semifinalist, right?
Gentry's got 3?
3, and then the fumble recovery.
fumble
Or I
recovery?
guess 2 fumble recoveries, right? No.
Yeah, he
1.
had the second fumble recovery. When Peyton Bowen knocked it out, he recovered the fumble.
Right, I was thinking 2 fumble recoveries on the season, though. I think it was just the one because Key stripped the other one out against SMU and Danny recovered it.
Yeah. By the way, Danny Stutsman, second team linebacker.
One more pick and Gentry Williams tied for first in the country.
Yep.
4 is the current leader, and that to me that's the interesting question, guys. If you were going to say you've got to nominate one of these 2 corners to be first team All Big 12, who's your nomination? Because Woody's playing great, but Gentry's got all the numbers. And not that Gentry's playing really well too. I'm just saying Woody feels like the guy you'd want to give the nod to, but Gentry is. The production's so clear.
Is it kind of? I don't know. Am I playing it too far down the middle if I said Gentry? Because it makes his numbers even more impressive knowing how much time he's also missed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult because he hasn't been out there as much.
I almost think that would help his argument a little bit in that he's I've only played this smaller sample size of snaps, but this is the production that I'm getting out of him.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's just with
But he's getting the chances because no one will go to Woody.
Yeah, it's just
sure,
Woody.
Sure.
He's just you see Woody out there, and Woody's had some really good, passes defended. There was the one in the game where Texas fans wanted a PI, but
which was
Woody
a massive,
played it perfectly.
It was a massive play. Just remember back, and I know that it was, again, it was Broyles in the bowl game, But OU had finally clawed their way back into the game, and then what did Florida State do? They just hit them over the top. Texas, that play, I told George, that play over the last 5 years, that's either a reception or Woody gets called for a pass interference. And think about how quickly things change if they throw a 15-yard flag there.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we talked about the secondary, how it could be better. And, you know, I'd mentioned last week that I thought, and thanks for the credit, Josh, on the Monday Rewind, like I thought Peyton Bowen and Billy Bowman would make an impact in that game, and they both did. And they're just – it's not that they're better, but they have better football players. And those guys are better athletically, but they're also ball hogs. You don't always get that in the same package. You're getting that with Gentry. You don't see that as much with Woody, even though he's a great football player. But, like, Peyton Bowen finds a football. Billy Bowman finds a football. Like, they just have a knack for it.
And are those kind of guys just popping out of the woodwork, or is that my imagination? Like Kip Lewis just finds the football. Gentry Williams, Peyton Bowen. You just run down the list. They're just around the ball.
Those guys are elite athletes, obviously, but I think it just kind of goes back into the structure of what they are trying to build on the defensive side, particularly, but just in terms of football players. Finding football players to get it done.
If you gave me 1,000 angles of that first down play on the goal line stand, watching Kip Lewis play that the way he did, I'd watch those 1,000 angles 1,000 times each.
After doing nothing but special teams the entire game, just shows up the goal line stand and is ready.
But I mean,
guys.
Go ahead, Josh.
Go ahead, Kerry. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, and not only that, but back to the transfer thing, like, Dasan McCullough could not be working out any better.
In a game that I think that we talked about last week going into it, how that probably wasn't the best matchup for him,
right,
having to go against Jatavian Sanders. And
it doesn't make sense.
For the most part, it didn't really matter.
It doesn't make sense to me, Josh. I mean, he's so
great.
gangly. I mean, like, he does not look like the guy that makes all those plays on the field, but he just makes them. Like, if you ask him to run, you ask him to do like a 20-yard shuttle, it's gonna look awkward. But he will make a play time and time again on a football field.
I don't know if he's just like, I mean, because when you see it in real time, like when you the play against Worthy, I didn't think he looked awkward moving. No. Like I didn't note that at all. It's almost like he's got time to think about it when he's doing it like in a drill or something. But like when he just plays football, it looks really clean. I don't know how to explain it because I feel the same way, Kerry. And I remember that very first clip we got of him this spring. I was like, oh, that doesn't look like I thought it was going to look.
Well,
he's a kid I covered in high school.
Josh, you saw it too when he got beaten coverage by that tight end at Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just looked like, oh my God, look at McCullough. How's he gonna? How does he even finish this game? Like, it's just he shows these weird little glimpses of awkwardness, but he's a hell of a football player.
It's crazy that they talked about the goal line stand and everything that was. I just remember back to one of the first viewing sessions that we had during the spring. They literally had that. They ran that exact play with Dasan. That was the play that he made, like the big tackle for loss in practice. It's just crazy to me how it all kind of, I guess, comes full circle.
Well, Brent Venables, I think, we're going to continue to talk about it, but I think the behind-the-scenes job that he has done to build, the chemistry or the togetherness of the family atmosphere, like, it's such a key. And we're not flies on the wall to see all that develop, but I thought Monday talking to the guys, it was just like, this is kind of like a family that we're talking to. I mean, these guys all like each other. They all get along.
The chemistry, it's such a overplayed, I think, thing a lot of the time, but it's very evident that this is one of the tighter, better, closer chemistry teams that I can remember in the last 5-6 years.
Well, it was my biggest concern going into the year because if you want competitive depth, that means everyone's not playing the amount of reps that they want to get. So how do they handle that? How does Key Lawrence handle if he's not playing as much because Billy Bowman and Peyton Bowen and Reggie Pearson are doing what they're doing? And so far, I don't know if it's just because they're 6-0, but it appears that they're all being genuine about rooting for their teammates, not just being selfish and like sulking, like, oh, I didn't get to play. They're all enjoying this process.
Go look at any sights and sounds. The first people that are out after Tawi Walker scores a touchdown is Javonte Barnes, of all people.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Or it's Marcus Major. Like, it's almost a race for those guys on the sidelines to be the first people out. The first person that was out on the sideline when Dylan Gabriel was running back after the opening touchdown, Jackson Arnold.
Yep.
You know what else helps families come together? Prime Shrimp. PrimeShrimp.com. Go check it out on the website. It's a just an unbelievable restaurant quality meal that you can do at home. Just boil some water, and within 10 minutes, you've got restaurant quality shrimp. Whether it's garlic herb butter shrimp, New Orleans style barbecue shrimp, their signature Cajun seasoned shrimp, or maybe you want some. Maybe go get some pasta noodles and have some French Quarter Alfredo shrimp. It's all there for the taking. And if you use the promo code U40, you're going to get 25% off your total order of $50 or more. It comes to your house. It's got the dry ice. It's frozen still. The kids can play with it. Just don't let them eat it. I know Josh did not let his kids eat the dry ice. They played with it, though, when it comes. So go to primeshrimp.com, Prime shrimp.com, and make your selections. Get $50 worth. Use that promo code U40, and you've got easy-to-make restaurant-quality meals right in your freezer. All right, guys, I know Josh... We can get back to OU Texas. We've talked so much about it this week. There's a big commitment coming up. Danny Stutsman's going to be on the Pat McAfee show.
I think it's a good representation of just how well things are going for Oklahoma. Dylan Gabriel was on College Football Live yesterday. Mm-hmm. Danny Stutsman's going to be on a national show today. Like, I can't remember the last time that happened for Oklahoma outside of maybe Baker.
Well, and I think when people saw the ratings come out of the game, it's like we're caught in this thing, and not caught's a bad word, but like I think the Deion Sanders factor, and I know this riles some people up, but I'm telling Deion Sanders has helped save college football coverage and not like save the fans' interest, but I think it's saved the network's interest. Like, they realize, college football can draw big numbers because everybody's been scaling back so much that now, like, you're seeing SportsCenter in the mornings cover college football. They haven't been doing that all year until these massive numbers started coming out on the weekends with Colorado, and Colorado State was the first one. Like, that game started at like 9 o'clock at night. And it had like the highest ratings of the year, and people were like, what the hell's going on here? Oh, people are interested in college football now. And Oklahoma, regardless of how you think they handle media, we've certainly, had our say in it over the years. It is kind of a little bit of a renaissance, I think, we're seeing with major networks being interested in college football again.
Yeah, it's been fascinating to watch, and I think that, like, now that there's an appetite for it, there's no better time to send out one of those promo videos like Oklahoma put out, the 7-minute thing. Like, people are eating it up, and it's rather fascinating to watch. And, I think that, like, because we're in this bubble so much, we often forget just the power, like, outside of the bubble of what Oklahoma football is, just to a certain extent. And
I will see how they can handle it, because the tension's going to be there for Brent, Coach of the Year, Dylan for the Heisman, Stutsman for the Butkus. We didn't have to worry about that last year, or we didn't have to worry about that first month of the season.
I think you do and you don't, because they had to handle the criticism as well, and I think it calluses
But that was more just from us.
They were the laughingstock of the country a year ago, though.
You have to admit, though, Bob, like, you didn't want to interview Danny Stutsman after games or Dylan Gabriel after games.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to have to adjust to all the expectations they're going to be coming with the next.
I think that comes with the duties of playing at Oklahoma to a certain extent.
And I do think that Dylan Gabriel is more comfortable and able to handle that now.
Sure.
Like, it's just, I think it kind of rolls off his back a little bit.
I mean, if he goes out and plays poorly, I don't think it's going to be because he had to do a 10-minute interview on a Monday night.
Yeah.
It'll be Jeff Levy's fault.
Well, he won't have called the right plays.
Yeah. I'm kidding.
By the way, I wanted to get this, Bob, before you get out of here, because, Thunder started up already. I don't know who watched Wembanyama play against
1-0.
Chet Holmgren.
1-0.
Blank there.
122, 121.
But OU basketball is getting ready to start up again. I mean, you got media days coming up soon, and I think, I don't know, what is the pulse, because I think what people are going to be like, who the hell are those guys when they first see them take the floor?
They are. And they can actually. I'm sure there might be a lot of. Brent was able to figure out the portal in his second year. If Porter Moser can do that in his third, then you can see some real strides here. I think the biggest thing, what they've been really promoting through their social media channels, is the athletic ability. That's what they keep showing. Jalen Moore, Caden Cooper. Like, they want you to forget about these slow teams of the last 2 years and get ready to have some fun here in year number 3.
I thought it was pretty funny. I think it was at the Iowa State game. They had them come out at during one of the timeouts to throw T-shirts into the stands. And I made the comment to somebody that was sitting next to me. It's like, for the first time in a long time, if those guys just walked into a room, you'd be like, oh, okay, that's the basketball team. Like they just look athletically bigger, taller, like basketball players, maybe, as opposed to what they've looked like over the last couple of years. So I'm picking them to go to the Final Four, is basically what I'm telling you. On3 had their rankings and 10 out of 14. That's going to be what they'll have to fight.
And the Big 12.
Yeah, it's like no one's really going to be believing in anything that you do until you start producing, because the last two years don't suggest it. But I do like a lot of what they did out of the portal, and then how fast Los and Ortega can grow up and take command and be the Stutsman of the basketball team. How quickly can those guys do it? And this chemistry, cohesion of all these different parts trying to come together in such a quick time.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I just wanted to hit on that real quick because I know we're getting ready for it and getting ready for the coverage on Soonerscoop.com. So, and by the way, YouTube videos. If you haven't, been a YouTuber, we're putting a lot of content on there for those of you that consume your content that way. And basically just special shows. We got, let's see. I mean, here's what we're producing now at Sooner Scoop. On Mondays, we've got the Rewind, where we'll go and look at some of the plays that happen in games. And hopefully Josh will be joining us for each of those shows. Tuesdays, we've got the Practice Report, which, it's a good time to do a little show because you've had media availability on Monday. You had Brent Venables' press conference, and the only thing you're missing is that Tuesday media night. So we get that up on Tuesday night. Wednesdays, we got the Unofficial 40. Thursdays, we have the big game day preview, which usually this week we're going to do something special. We're going to have Andy Staples on, and I think we're going to talk to Teddy Lehman as well to kind of cover up for the bye week and put a Thursday show out there for you. And then, you roll on into game day on Saturday where you have the post-game podcast. So a lot of stuff out there. We may add more. It may kill us if we try and add too much more. Because we're basically just doing this 24 hours a day now. But youtube.com/Soonerscoop. Go check it out. And also, subscribe. We're getting close to, by the time you listen to this, probably cross the 12,000 threshold. But, we'd like to try and get to 20,000 subscribers. I think that's a realistic goal. And there's also the Sooner Scoop editorial page that you can check out as well if you want to just get daily interviews, press conferences, stuff like that we release on that. So just want to throw that out there. And youtube.com/Soonerscoop. All right, Josh, I know that there is a commitment coming up, and it's going to be an odd one. The timing of it, which we've never really seen before at Oklahoma.
Yeah, we've got Daniel Akinkunmi, the big offensive lineman from England that visited back the opening game of the season. He was an Arkansas State official visitor. He is going to announce his decision tomorrow. I expect that should be 8 a.m. Central, 2 p.m. on his time in London. So I still think that's going to go well for Oklahoma. He hasn't been anywhere since that Oklahoma trip, really has just kind of locked down, focused on his football season. And, just talking to some people, I think Oklahoma did a very good job selling him on what he can be at Oklahoma. And I know talking to him following that visit, he talked about Bill Bedenbaugh just being a guy that, you guys will find this funny because he was talking about the situation with Bill. Like, he'd talk to him on the phone, he'd message with him, and he goes, I came in thinking he was going to be this real low-key, calm guy. I didn't know he was going to work with his players like that. And you're like, oh, Lord. So, just him talking about seeing Bill work with the guys the first time, he was kind of like, holy shit, there really was kind of a moment for him there. But I think Oklahoma's in really good shape there. Obviously another key piece of that offensive line class to go with guys like Josh Iasosa and Eugene Brooks. And I just, again, that's how you start to build this class, because it needs a little momentum. It needs to start filling out, and starting to finish with guys like Eddie Pierre-Louis, Grant Bricks, and some of the other pieces Oklahoma's looking at right now.
If Oklahoma doesn't capitalize, if they end up getting the commitment and they don't send a video team over with Bill for his in-home visit and make a complete documentary of him having to eat British food, that would be the most lost opportunity in the history of civilization.
Is there any way Bill doesn't just eat 2 days of fish and chips? It's just fish and chips all day, every day.
That's all I did when we were in London.
I mean, I think that's all I would do, but I feel like it's a lost start of opportunity if they don't send a video team with Bill for the in-home visit. And I just suspect that he'll make it an in-home visit to the UK if that were to have to happen.
Yeah, Josh, when we talked to Brent Monday, he mentioned getting on the recruiting trail all throughout this week. Who's maybe a name or two that you circle? It's they're going to make another run at this guy and see what happens.
One of the guys, it's not a name that I expect to really surprise people, but I think it's one that a lot of people wrote off a couple of weeks ago when he canceled his official visit. I think they're going to get by and see Jordan Seaton. They've obviously, there's a lot of connection to IMG with David Stone, Jaden Jackson, but they'll make sure Jordan Seaton knows he's a guy they want. And again, we reported on it when this all happened, and everybody kind of said, "Oh, well, I guess OU and Seaton are done." That's not what I've been told. I think it very much was just he is going to wait longer to take his decision. And guys, we've talked about this a lot. Oklahoma does not want a guy to visit in September and decide in December. That's not how they want to operate. They want to be as close to your announcement as they possibly can be. And so I think that's what you're going to see. As far as some other names, I can't think of anyone that jumps out. I do think we're about to that point in the year, kind of like last year when you saw Taylor Wine and Ashton Sanders emerge, that you're going to see a couple of guys that Oklahoma decides they like. Wouldn't be shocked if you saw another edge offer come out, maybe just a defensive lineman in general. I know there's a junior college defensive lineman, a kid named Hamlin, that is starting to get some attention that I think might be worth keeping an eye on. But I'm still kind of mapping out where everybody's going to go. But there's no question, once that practice ends on Thursday, their guys are going to get out and get on the road, and those planes are going to be put to use. And
as you were doing your show Monday, Michael Boganowski has finally announced his date. That'll be next Thursday. Is this anything related to the momentum that they built from OU Texas, or is this kind of, you feel like, been in the works?
I think it's been in the works. The part of the momentum that I can't stop staring at, and Woke went up just before we started recording, and I kind of touched on this a little bit. Reggie Powers, the safety offer from Ohio, was expected to visit for the UCF weekend. And to my information, as of about an hour ago, this was still the plan. So I don't want to say was expected to. That I don't want that to be misunderstood. That's just me saying it incorrectly. He is still expected to take that visit. That is October 21st. The fact that Michael Boganowski has now, after months and months and months of people thinking he was about to make a decision, is now ready to on October 19th, when I think Oklahoma's only got room for one more safety, I find that really hard to just label that a coincidence. I just maybe it is. Maybe I'm wrong, but that feels good for Oklahoma in the Boganowski chase. And I know we talked about it some in Scoop last week, how I was starting to hear that Kansas State's confidence with Boganowski wasn't where it had been. And I think maybe you're starting to see, because again, I've compared it a lot to the Peyton Bowen situation. I'm wondering if now we're starting to see that same turn that Peyton Bowen took very dramatically, Michael Boganowski taking it very, very much more under the radar in the way that all plays out.
By the way, real quick, deadsoxy.com. Go check them out. Never lose another sock, by the way. I lost a freaking no-show the other day. I don't know where it is.
I've done that before, and it's the most aggravating thing that you can possibly do.
And then I'm wearing mismatched pairs now, so I bought the sock. They have a thing you can buy. where you put your socks in this bag and then you wash it, so you won't lose the socks. You need to go buy that at Dead Sox. That's my one recommendation for all you Dead Soxy guys out there. But also, just great socks. And it's getting a little cooler now, so maybe you want to, stock up on something other than your no-shows. And the season's going, so you want to have some nice crimson socks to wear around. Great selection. They've even got, new collections out there for you. You can get the 4-packs, the 8-packs, whatever you want, or just get the socks on their own. They've got the retro casuals. I love the one with the stripe on it. The crimson vertical stripe. It's a really cool athletic sock as well. Or just the boardroom type socks if you want to support your Sooners and wear some crimson to work. Go check them out. Deadsoxy.com, DeadSoxy.com, and as always, stay soxy. Okay. So, Josh, was there anything? I know you wrote about the recruits' reaction from the game in Dallas. Was there anything that really stood out to you about any of the recruits that you talked to have that game having an impact on them?
What I thought was really interesting were a couple of guys that weren't there. In Woke today, we talked about Andrew Marsh, the potential 5-star receiver from Katy, that really, he probably said it to me 5 times. I really wish I was there. I really wish I was there. And he talked about he didn't want to use any of his visits on non-home games. He wanted to be around the whole environment, which is understandable. But at the same time, you're like, you miss out on a pretty good environment on Saturday. So, I think he knew it.
Not too many sorority houses around the Cotton Bowl, unless I'm unaware.
Are we talking about Josh Giddey now? Oh, I'm sorry.
But I just think with Marsh, it was interesting. The other one that was really interesting were the Carl Albert guys that were down at Texas A&M. Marcus James, Tristan Haynes, both hold Oklahoma offers. Tristan Haynes told me that he and his dad are sitting in the stands at the A&M game watching OU Texas on his dad's phone. So, they're just – there's stuff like that where it was just such a great game that people couldn't, kind of were drawn to it and kept watching it. So I think that was the biggest thing. I don't know that I would say, there's this huge movement. I still really like where the direction where OU is going with a guy like Michael Fasusi, who I think is a 5-star offensive lineman from Louisville. I think he's unbelievably talented. I think OU, if he had to pick today, it's probably Oklahoma. I think they're in really good shape there. I also think they're starting to build some ground with Lamont Rogers, the other big offensive tackle from Mesquite Horn. I mentioned before that staff has some serious OU ties in it. It's one of the few areas in Dallas where you can say there's plenty of people there that would love to go up to Norman with him. And now they have 2 other offers. Markel Ford, the safety who was also at the game, Legend Bay, the kind of quarterback athlete in the 2026 class. There's a lot to connect him to Oklahoma right now, and I think Oklahoma's in pretty good shape right there.
Now you put in a prediction, a recruiting.
Yeah, I know.
Machine. This week for is it Pierre Louise?
Eddie Pierre Louis. Yeah, I put in his mother. I believe
with a Y. I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know if he should be allowed.
The Eddie part of it.
Yeah.
Was it Ed and Eddie was on the show? George, you're young.
Yeah, Ed, and Eddie.
Ed, and Eddie.
Great input.
We
Thanks,
could have
George.
a show because Eddie has a personality. Tampa Catholic Eddie has a personality that would work well with our Eddie. So those two could have some fun. But yeah, I put in that prediction. He is expected to visit next week for UCF. It'll be an unofficial. He's paying his way, all those things. So I get the impression that Oregon has, as of late, tried to make a run, and I know Chad Simmons talked about it in one of his pieces for On 3, and Chad is locked in. Obviously, we talk about it over and over again. In the Southeast, nobody's got better intel than Chad does. So I remember he was the guy that was telling everybody all along that Georgia was still there with Williams Nwaneri, and so many wrote that off. So Chad did well on that one, but I would say Oklahoma is in good shape with Eddie Pierre Louis. I would not be surprised if you saw a decision come out following that UCF visit. I kind of wonder if he's going up there to, hand Brent Venables his token. I mean, it could be that far down the line. We'll see what happens, but I will say the Sooner Scoop staff will probably have to be on a little bit of alert. Maybe I will have his alerts turned on to his account that weekend.
Very nice. Anything else big that we need to hit on recruiting-wise? We got George here, who's Eddie apparently is critical of his work ethic right now.
No, not at all.
I have talked so much the past week that I don't have much
I feel
to
sorry
input.
for you, actually. I mean, I feel like we're overusing you or working you. Or
I don't think so. I mean,
okay,
it's the bye week.
Fine.
We're chilling.
Adding another show.
I do have a question for Josh, just for the fans out there because they're clamoring for it. Williams Nwaneri, anything going on there? I know that.
Damn you, George.
I just get the people going. That's what people want to hear about. Is I know obviously Josh.
Wow,
they're going
to George showed up to the show today.
They're going to continue to recruit him, but I just I'm assuming that's still the case. They're just recruiting him.
So when you ask Brent a question like this, what did he say? It's different for you, but it's not different for me. Is that what I say in this position here?
Correct.
Yeah, no, but at some point it gets really hard to ignore these little things he keeps doing. Eddie mentioned earlier, and I know we've got it in our little group message, that Kamori Moore had tweeted out that video. And, for those that don't know, Kamori Moore, 2025 defensive tackle commitment from Lee Summit North. He is the teammate of 2024 five-star, arguably number one player in the country, Williams Nwaneri, who we all know Oklahoma lost out on earlier this summer. Kamori had tweeted out the video of Todd Bates. It's made its way all around the internet, and, it's impossible not to love those comments from Todd Bates. Williams Nwaneri liked it. And you look at some of his likes, you look at some of the things he does. He keeps wearing OU gloves from time to time. Like, even initially he said, it's because it matches the uniform. And then there was a uniform that it didn't match, and he still wore them. Like, there is some stuff that is hard to ignore. At the same time, none of the variables that I think matter in this equation have changed. I still don't think anybody's going to be able to match what Missouri is doing in the NIL game. I still think his mother is a huge part of this equation, and I believe she wants him at Missouri. And at some point, we mentioned it earlier with the Michael Boganowski and the Peyton Bowen situation. This is similar as well. If that is what Williams want to do, which I know some people believe, and I mean people around Oklahoma's program believe that. If that's what he wants to do, at some point he's going to have to stand up and say it. And he's going to have to say, this is what I want to do. This is my decision. I'm going to have to, stand behind this. If that doesn't happen, then none of this matters. This is all just, it's hot air. So and I know it really kind of passes the buck because we won't know until he does it. And then it's all, the wheels are just turning and moving. I can't write Oklahoma off with him. At the same time, I expect him to end up at Missouri, and it certainly hasn't hurt Missouri that they've had a really good start. I know they lost last week, but, when he picked Missouri, a lot of OU fans and, myself as well was saying, hey, Missouri's going to go 4-8 and Drinkwitz is going to get fired. Drinkwitz isn't getting fired. They're putting pretty good football on the field right now. So he's just going to have to he's going to have to love Oklahoma like some people believe he loves Oklahoma.
Yeah, you were kind of hopeful that Missouri would have a down year, but they've actually played pretty well. So,
yeah, and the defense has been. LSU kind of lit them up, but in general, their defense has played well.
Daniels
so far
lit
this
them up,
year.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
By the way, who's the third best team in the Big 12 right now? If Texas and Oklahoma are 1 and 2.
Do you want the true answer that's probably not the most popular answer? And it's just as surprising to me as anybody else.
Are you going to say Oklahoma State?
I was going to say West Virginia. I was
Yeah,
going to say
no.
West Virginia, but if Oklahoma State wins this weekend, you could sell me on that. I still don't know what to make of Kansas in that entire
BYU?
situation. I don't think BYU is very good.
I don't think they're the third best team.
In the same breath, I still think it's going to be a really tough game.
Who's BYU lost to? I don't even know who they've played.
Well, they beat Arkansas, which they're terrible, but
And they beat Cincinnati.
they beat Cincinnati because that was a night game. like a Friday night game.
But they lost to somebody in the Big 12, didn't they?
Yeah, I'm trying to hang on. I'm pulling up because I
Kansas.
cannot put it in my head.
They lost to Kansas.
Yeah,
But
they lost.
beat
They
them
lost to
pretty good.
Kansas.
And
and then they
Jalen
beat
Daniels
some-
played in that game, right?
They're 4-1 with the loss to Kansas.
I mean, I think it's
27.
I think it's Kansas if Jalen Daniels is playing.
And that continues to be maybe like one of the, and maybe it's become a national story and I just haven't really noticed it.
I don't
but
think it has.
I think
because-
more and more it's starting to come onto the national scene, like how weird this is that he just continues to have quote unquote back issues.
And that apparently Leipold doesn't know game to game if he's going to play. Like,
It's just strange. Like I don't think that like as OU preps to go up there in I guess it would be 3 weeks. I have no idea if he's going to play.
I still think Kansas State is pretty good. They just laid an egg.
They have a massive game this weekend, Kansas State, because it's two teams that can't lose another game. Texas Tech can't lose another game, and Kansas State can't lose another. I thought Friday night in Stillwater, Will Howard was absolutely awful.
I don't think
That was the Will Howard we all thought was
Yeah.
Will Howard before
Sure.
last year.
Here's the scary thing. I think Iowa State might become the third best team. They're
starting to play really good football. They are. I agree, Kerry. They're playing really good football right now. And they played OU pretty well until OU kind of just took control there right before half.
I think that's a case of Iowa State wasn't really that bad, even though they got beat by 30 points, but OU was better than we thought. But they did
the
more
Bex
damage.
kid,
They did more damage to OU secondary than Texas did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they gashed them on 3 huge plays.
I don't think that that's crazy. I think you could have maybe that just tells you where the Big 12 is at, that we can have this conversation and list off 3 or 4 teams.
Who do you think has
as
the
third
harder
best.
back half of the schedule, OU or Texas?
OU.
I think it's Texas. They got to go 2 Ames.
I don't really know Texas.
They got to go 2 Ames. They get Kansas State at home.
I'm trying to build a fucking college playoff resume, all right?
Texas is back half. I mean, I think they're both more difficult than people realize, just because you've got a bunch of teams.
Everybody
that are
just
scrappy
throws out
teams.
they don't
Yeah.
have a ranked team left on their schedule.
Are we selling on Kansas State? I mean, West Virginia?
I don't buy it.
I mean, they're going to beat Houston on Thursday. I don't know.
I don't buy them. I don't
Houston's
think they
not
have a
very good.
quarterback.
What's really
Garrett
weird?
Green.
I don't think he's that good.
You don't think he's going to run for 170 yards like he did a year ago, and then I almost
That's all
died?
he does, though. Yeah, I mean, he's more of a runner than he is a thrower.
But
UCF's not
there's a
very
very
good.
real chance that Houston's terrible.
Yeah. What's interesting is, like, we've spent so much time talking about, is OU and Texas SEC ready? It's pretty clear that these teams were not Big 12 ready. A lot of these teams. I mean, the Big 12's not knocking at the SEC's door, but it's a different level of football. You have a little bit more speed, a little bit more weaponry on offense.
I will say, to Cincinnati's credit, they are going through a new coach and everything. Because if Luke Fickell was still there, they would have been, I think, more Big 12 ready than what they are. I mean, they lost a lot of talent.
Sure.
And they also lost
Through the
one of
transfer portal and graduation, right?
Right, and also just losing. I think Fickell was a really good football coach. But
Yeah.
Well, I know that.
Although
like,
Wisconsin hasn't hit the ground running like I thought they
yeah,
would.
they haven't. Yeah, they've struggled.
look, I don't think that I have no idea about this, but it didn't seem like Louisville was too heartbroken when they lost Scott Satterfield.
Oh, and look at him now.
And now
Yeah.
you look up and Louisville's 6-0. They kicked the shit out of Notre Dame over the weekend.
Well, they finally got the guy they wanted when they hired Satterfield. They wanted Braum the first go around.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that didn't come off.
And Ryan Walters is Purdue's coach now, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Hudson Card is their quarterback.
Crazy. I don't think I realized that until we were watching the game at the airport, Georgia and Chicago. And then you mentioned
That
it
would-
like at the same time in the war room.
I was like,
That would be great YouTube content. Like us guessing where people connected to OU are, like some sort of board up where you have to pin the tail. Ryan Walters is at Purdue, Hudson Card's at Purdue, Tanner Mordecai's at Wisconsin. Like, I mean, that kind of shit.
Spencer Rattler's at South Carolina.
Caleb Williams
Playing
is
the
at
best football of his
USC.
career.
He's playing in Los Angeles.
I forgot about him.
Yeah.
just kind of, off to the side, nobody really paying attention.
They got a big game this week. I thought the stuff with Lincoln Riley yesterday was pretty humorous, just like him defending the defense.
So, yeah, he was trending yesterday, and I was too busy. We were doing all kinds of crap.
Well, he basically
and
said
I didn't
that
click on it. But so what? Give me the rundown of what happened.
The TLDR is we don't have a defensive problem.
I mean, he did that at Oklahoma.
I know. It's the exact same role that he's been playing.
I love the clip of them spraying the water at the punt returners.
The weather in South Bend this weekend is supposed to be absolutely colossal rains.
I'm sure that sprinkler will really help that. But
no, guys, there's a very real chance Notre Dame wins by 2 touchdowns. I think that's absolutely on the table.
It depends on how motivated they are. Just because they've lost, they're now out of the playoff picture, and it's you just don't know.
Here's my question: what has to happen to Caleb Williams to open the door for everybody else
in the Heisman race?
Yes,
they got to lose a couple games.
I think they have to lose twice.
And what if they lose a couple games? Is Caleb Williams? I don't know Caleb Williams at all. Is he the type of guy that goes, "What am I playing for?" and just sits out and gets ready for the NFL?
I don't think that he would.
Yeah,
I don't think he could. As a quarterback, the vibes on that would be real bad.
It would hurt your draft.
Yeah.
It would do more to
hurt
hurt your draft stock than it would to help it.
I mean, I think he could quit right now. He's still the number 1 pick.
Sure, but it wouldn't look good.
Here's the other thing: is there language within an NIL deal that do you have to continue playing if you have this deal with Wendy's?
It depends on how you write the deal.
Sure. I wonder if that's written into his contract.
I'm sure his thing with Dr. Pepper is if he gets hurt and can't play anymore this season, he still is gets all. I mean, he's already shot everything he needs to for that anyway.
They'll have to lose a couple games, but he'll also have to play bad in maybe one of those losses because there's a chance they score 50 points and lose, and he still throws 5 touchdown passes.
He didn't
and
play
he's
that
not
well against Arizona.
No, I know.
It's one of those things too, and I think that this is kind of where and OU's benefited from this with not necessarily Baker, but I think that the attention that some of these guys got over the last couple of years, whether it be Kyler or whether it be Jalen, Baker and Kyler earned it, no doubt. I think that because of the way that, and we saw this with the AP voting, there's a lot of people that have Heisman votes that just shouldn't, and they're going to vote for Caleb Williams. They could lose 4 games. They're probably still going to vote for him,
And there's still just so much to happen. People forget Kyler's year. He was not going to win until they get into the Big 12 championship. They win, and then Tua gets hurt later that day in the SEC championship game, and that basically won Kyler the Heisman. Was Tua getting hurt, and Kyler was fantastic in the Big 12 championship game.
If I were Caleb, I'd come out right now and say I'm giving my second Heisman to Reggie Bush for the sympathy vote, so he can finally have his Heisman back.
Yeah. What's funny to me, I just keep thinking about Dylan Gabriel, and I don't think he's going to win the Heisman. I don't even know if he'll finish top 3, but I
could go top 5 right now for sure.
Yeah, but just think,
top
could
3.
you see him having this sounds so bad, and I don't mean this as a shot at Dylan because he's playing great, but we're talking about him possibly having a statue on campus next to Kyler Murray, Sam Bradford, Baker. I mean, think about that.
It's crazy. I mean, we had conversations on the Crimson Corner following the SMU game that he should be outright benched.
Yeah.
For Jackson Arnold.
And this is way premature. It's way
it's premature, but
just
at the same time,
yeah.
It's premature, but at the same time, we're halfway through the season.
We were saying that though because of basically 2 bad throws against SMU.
Yeah. I don't think none of us or Bob were saying that Dylan should be benched. It was the other idiots that we had to chase down.
By the way, I'll give it up to the fans who need this. Yeah, we thought Texas was going to win. We were wrong. So I'm not trying to hide behind anything.
I mean,
it's not that big of a deal.
No,
but it's just
our opinion.
Yeah, it's just we're not here to tell you that we see things that we don't, and we didn't see that defensive line yet. We didn't see Ethan Downs getting 2 sacks in a game. We didn't see, the interception on the second play of the game happening.
There were 2 questions that I had in my game prediction, and all I said was, at this time, I don't know if I can trust that right now. It was, can Dylan Gabriel be the guy that he's been through 5 games? can Oklahoma dominate the line of scrimmage? They did both, and they won the game.
I remember tweeting from the Scoop account, and I was like, oh, after I tweeted, I was like, oh, no, this is not going to go well. But I tweeted something like, this is the quarterback battle that we'd hope to see. And, of course, you get, like, a lot of OU fans like, I'd be just fine if Quinn Ewers threw 7 interceptions. What are you talking about? And I was like, it was fun. Like, don't tell me that you need every game to be a blowout and that wasn't the most fun that you've had watching or viewing or being at an OU football game in the last decade. It's
amazing to me that, like, if you would have told me going in that was going to be a better atmosphere, a better game than what 2021 was, and they're two completely different types of games because of the comeback and stuff.
It was a momentum swing, not a momentum ping pong.
Yeah, it was like a seesaw the entire time. Like the first 6 minutes of OU Texas this year are maybe without a doubt like the craziest 6 minutes of game time.
The whole first quarter is just batshit crazy.
It was insane. Yeah. It was insane.
I tweeted it during the game, guys. The first 6 minutes took like 40 minutes of actual time. Like, it was insane, all the back and forth and the stuff that was happening. But, guys, is there any question 2023 was a much better football game than 2021 was? Like, it may not have had the big peaks, but they were two good football teams playing football.
Exactly. I mean, really, Josh, in my lifetime, that might be the best two teams playing the best games individually against each other. Like
in that game against each other?
Yeah, everybody loved, 2000, and it was 63-14, but it was a blowout. I mean, the game was over at halftime. Like, OU won 12-0 when Vince Young was young. I think they started Chance Mock that game. That was Brent Venables' first shutout of Texas. I think, I mean, I always look back at that game like that's what OU's defense used to be. They could shut out Texas in the Cotton Bowl when it all went bad over the last few years. But, like, still, that was a convincing defensive win by Oklahoma, but it wasn't a great Texas. It was a young Vince Young. He wasn't there yet. 2005 was a blowout in Texas's favor. Like, you just don't – like you said, the 2021 game – was fantastic, but they came back from a huge lead, and the Kennedy Brooks run into the end zone was magnificent. I mean, like, it was incredible to watch. But yeah, this game, even though Oklahoma was leading most of it, you still felt like these are two really good teams playing football out there.
I think go ahead, Josh.
I was going to just quickly, the only one I would say that I think could compare was 2008 with McCoy and Bradford. Like, that was a really good football game.
Yeah. And Texas won that one.
Yeah, I get why OU fans are going to remember that as favorably.
Wasn't it also a 10-point game? Didn't Texas ended up winning by 10?
I think that's right, yeah.
Like 45-35 or something.
And it was kind of like
that's how I remember.
2008?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, 45-35 was the final. I'm trying to look 1-2. I think of it's crazy too that I think the number is OU has won 11 of the last 15 in Dallas against Texas.
I mean,
it doesn't seem like that. And I know that we always kind of talk about this come OU Texas week. It doesn't seem like Oklahoma has dominated this game like they have over the last 15 years.
Well, you're also coming off 49-0.
Right. Outside of that, though, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the last 8 have been one-score games.
And I want to say 2005 was the last, like, that game was over, and like, that's the worst beating that OU's ever taken in the Red River rivalry. And then
outside of 21,
then,
or
like
22.
Last year, it
45-12
trumped that one.
2005.
Yeah,
I don't think I remember it being that bad.
It was bad. I remember that game.
Yeah,
but no, I mean, look, it's a great game. Gonna remember that one forever. By the way, my favorite video that I saw it, and then Eddie, you retweeted it. But the OU fans sitting in the Texas section in that last play,
I could watch a loop of like everybody's like homemade videos from wherever they were, whether it be on the OU side or the Texas side. I just find those videos to be awesome.
I think it was Tyler McComas. Like, he had a really good video. I think he was sitting like up there with TJ Perry, maybe.
Okay, I didn't see that one.
But that was he was up high, so you could see the fans just erupt because he was shooting down on the field and all the arms just go flying up. That was a really good one. But yeah, everybody in that corner over there, those were great videos. But yeah, the guy in the Texas section I think he probably just bought one seat too. I didn't see an OU person next to him, but it was just a sea of burnt orange around him.
Well, and you could hear because at first he's pointing towards the OU side and it erupts. Then he pans to the Texas side, and you could hear the silence over there. And then the one Texas fan flips him off.
Yeah, flips him the bird.
It was awesome.
So, oh man, that was brutal. I mean, Texas fans wouldn't enjoy that, but I think OU fans really did. Anyway, George, I know you've done a lot of work this week. You've done a lot of talking. I don't know if there's anything on your mind that you wanted to hit before we get out of here.
Not really. That's all I got.
Tell them what you were telling me about your thoughts on gun control in this country.
No, I'm. It's fun. It's going to be a fun back half of the season, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm a little tired.
Now, are you vegging out on the couch Saturday like the rest of us?
100%. 100%. I'm going to just watch college football all day on Saturday. It's going to be nice. That's what.
Do you know which girlfriend you're going to spend the day with?
Oh, wrong.
Go to the Greek Fest.
Oh, is it Greek Fest this weekend?
You can't change the subject, asshole.
I'm thinking about going to Oktoberfest at the Jones Assembly on Saturday.
There you go. That's a good call.
It's Greek Fest in Oklahoma City. It's Greek Fest in Oklahoma and Houston. That's always a big deal down here.
Is that a calendar thing? Is it big on like the Greek calendar for this?
I don't know.
Bob!
I guess.
OU bye week.
Oh, you buy
It's
week. All
always
right,
during
that's
OU
fair.
bye week, okay.
That's fair. That's understandable.
Well, I think the Trotter family
That's
basically
smart.
heads that thing up, don't they? Yeah. I mean, there you go. All right, I guess.
Oh, so is Bob going to be running like a souvlaki stand?
Oh,
or something?
you know
Like
he will, but he's
out
going
there
to.
working
What's
it?
the cheese that catches on fire? What's that?
Saganaki.
Saganaki. Are you running a stand? No.
That was Jake's thing.
Oh, okay. The wife doesn't make you do it. Is Pearl going to go?
Damn it.
We are going Saturday.
Okay.
We're spending all day Saturday until the folks come.
There's Bob Persbillo, ladies and gentlemen. He can't
Kara,
get
are
enough
you
of the-
what are you doing this Saturday? You spending time with your girlfriend?
No, it's a sore subject. Bob, you know it's my boyfriend. All right. You're going to DEI training after this. You assume my
I think
gender.
that'd be good for him.
He is assuming gender now.
I think that'd be good for him.
Who runs that, Eddie?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got videos in the other
together a
room
good-
that are Cumulus owned. I can.
We
run you
put
through it.
together a really good program. I have something in store.
I cannot wait for this. We're not putting this on the Scoop channel. That's no way. All right, that's going to do it. We're going to get out of here. We will be back on YouTube tomorrow evening because we're going to be joined by Andy Staples and Teddy Lehman.
I'm excited for this because I do think that it's gone as planned to a certain extent. Like I think everybody thought you'd be 5-0. You could have talked us into getting to 6-0, but I mean, like this is very real conversations as far as like can OU run the table?
Well, the national spotlight's on them,
right?
And
Well,
that's,
now that
that's the fun part.
And now that they know that they're capable of this, like, does that make them better? Like, do they
And
have
they
more
can.
confidence? Like, are they going to go out and just put it on people now?
It can be so much better too.
Yeah.
I mean, like the special team stuff that I know that we haven't really talked about here a whole lot. They have to get that shit figured out, or it will cost them in Provo or wherever. Like the
I think
punting
it's time
thing,
to try another place kicker. Just try.
I'm down. And I like Zach, but give Gavin Marshall, give somebody else another opportunity.
And Elzinga might just need to be your regular punter.
Yeah, it's a very like
It's
I'm
hard
not
to
worried
say
about
because we haven't seen enough punts, but the ones we have seen in a game that mattered as much as Texas did for it to be that bad. And Elzinga, I mean, like he comes in there to corner kick. I get it, but his corner kicks are going further than Plaster's regular kicks.
By the way,
I'm not worried about the punt block. It was a missed block. You gotta get the ball out. I'm not worried about the punt, the fake punt.
Brent said that they worked on that exact punt.
Yeah.
Several times.
this is off topic, but they just released the Danny Stutsman shirts, and they look pretty badass.
Really?
Yeah.
What do they have?
It's just the him of the cigar on the front and then that on the back.
Yeah.
Do they have a white version?
Yes, they do have a white version.
Oh, ooh, I like those.
I bought one for my my brother.
Nice.
Put some money in Danny's pocket.
All right.
Yeah, guys, and for those, don't go buy the cheap knockoff bullshit. But buy it from Oculus.
That's another
buy
thing.
it from
Like they're all over the place. Yeah, it's those.
All
direct
of these people
to
that
print,
like
yeah.
just tweet into like threads
they're
and stuff.
into they're now attacking any Twitter thread about Danny Stutsman.
I want to kill all those people.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've seen it with our shirts. People knock off our shirts. I mean, it's crazy. I think what happens is they go on like Shopify and they find out like what's trending, and then they just steal it and do direct to print and make a website. It's a terrible industry. I mean, hats off to you, Opolis, for running a merch merch store as your main business. That's a tough deal. Tough way to make a living because of all that shit. Anyway. So we're going to get out of here for today. Josh's beard is just beardy on this TV.
You put any product in that?
You'll have to forgive Eddie. He's becoming a beard expert. He went and got his beard groomed one day, and he looked fantastic.
Ooh. Well, it's just when I go get my hair cut, I have them shape me up a little bit.
But you did it one time for the first time. Now you're doing it every time?
Yeah, I'm going to get the Michael Jordan thing into the side of my head, too.
He did try and self-trim his beard the other day, and he took a big chunk out of it.
I did. The side of my face.
The lady who cuts my hair, I accidentally backed into a shoulder massage at the end of the thing, and now I can't not do it. Like I've never been a massage guy in my whole life. Only one I've ever had.
Every time you get out of there now. Easy.
It was the place that... Is that the place that Deshaun Watson gave you the number for? I know there's a couple different ones.
How dare you speak of Miss Lynn that way? Miss Lynn's a patron saint.
Ask her how big he is. Anyway,
easy.
That's going to do it. We're going to get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Soonerscoopstore.com. We got plenty of merch for you if you want to go support the Unofficial 40. That way, we got plenty of merch for you in there. So Soonerscoopstore.com. Go check it out. Or a hat. Get a hat. We got lots of hats. So we'll be back again next week, and we'll be back again Well, we won't be back Sunday because no Eskridge Lexus postgame podcast this week because there's no game. So we'll be back again next Wednesday with another edition of the Unofficial 40 podcast right here on Soonerscoop.com.